here. So before we go into the big vision thing, let me make a few confessions. It's always a little bit of an out-of-body experience to stand up in front of groups. I'll sum up the introduction, very kind introduction, by the way, but the reality is I'm an obscure operating guy from Cleveland, Ohio, so what am I doing standing here? And that seems to be all the more palpable when suddenly I'm in front of a senator or House subcommittee, answering questions. And the big difference is you all have an awful lot of knowledge, so go easy on me. I think the Senate and the House might be a little easier to handle than the folks we have here. So. No, I'm still on a steep learning curve, but I have learned a few things over the years. I've parachuted into a few organizations from the outside. A couple things I've learned is, one, the farther away you get from headquarters, the more you learn about both your market and your organization, and that's always true. And you have to work very hard to disengage from D.C. and really get out and universally shared that inner city state corridors really are going to be where the dramatic growth is and where it makes sense for us to really put our political energy. But that does not mean that we have any intention on dismantling the long-distance network. Do we need to take some looks at the network, how it's structured? Yes, because we have to earn the right to grow. But fundamentally, I think when you look at any map of demographic growth, inner city corridors are really where the action is going to be, and that is why we as an organization are really working very hard to pivot toward the states. And that's just getting warmed up. Just getting ready for those tough questions. There has to be a strong federal partnership in funding. S-294 moving forward here gives us those opportunities. I am also admonished by my minders that I am not in a position to endorse any bill. I can certainly comment on provisions, but I think singly most important is really freeing up capital for the states to employ, to be able to leverage their dollars much along the lines as they do with highway funds. And the other piece, and I think you've all felt it in one way or another, it is to have some sort of multi-year funding structure for Amtrak, so we're not staggering from year to year, trying to understand what our capital programs are doing, how much money we have to spend. We are here almost halfway through our fiscal year, and we really just about a week ago got our final continuing resolution number, and in fact got our first tranche of cash from that, I think with a flurry of running from office to office for the right signatures on Friday. We were down to, $40 million in cash or something like that, which is a small number for us. We're effectively, if you were to compare us to a private sector company, we would feel like a $3.5 billion company, and I would venture to say there's no $3.5 billion company out there today that operates on a $40 million cash balance. So the question is, where does that capital come from? If you have a few more charts here on UP. Now UP, it's nice to beat them up as a whipping boy on-time performance, but these guys are spending $3.2 billion this year on capital programs. I mean, that's stunning. When I was there in 2002, 2003, it was maybe a little bit over $2 billion. And you look at that on a percent of the revenue point of view. I mean, there simply is no comparison to that in other businesses. So again, what options do they really have? One of the things you have to ask yourself is, what if a private equity company comes in and says, okay, fine, we'll buy you guys and we'll simply whack the capital program and take that cash to contribute to paying off debt. That's not a good thing for our national network. So the freight railroads themselves, in spite of the record years they've had, I think are really still in this dilemma with their own shareholders in terms of what choices do they make on capital. And one of the discussions I keep having in the cycle with them is, part of it is, I do think passenger rail, whether it's Amtrak or any of the other organizations, I think they need to use those organizations as poster children to start using more public capital. Obviously, BNSF has done that effectively, UP less so. I think they're beginning to look at that. But the facts are that as a basket of investment opportunities for shareholders, they are all still on the bottom rung of return on capital. So if you compare that performance to other places shareholders want to put their dollars, it's a tough problem for them, because if they say we're not going to spend that money, and supposing you just stick with the network you have, you optimize, you try to optimize your business, you raise prices, you really grind out the operation, yeah, they could all be more profitable, but in the end, nobody would be at all. I know there's a lot of arguments banging about that we need to be much more thoughtful in articulating passenger miles. Yeah, on a percentage basis, I think the passenger mile total, while it's only, I think, 15% of the ridership's 15% of the total. Where's my note here? It's about 45% of the total national passenger miles is long distance. It's still a difficult case to articulate, when you're talking to congressional committees, and I'm always looking for a better story and a better way to frame some of the debates, but I think we still have to work through how to talk the long-distance network. One of the things I've said is, I do get a little tired of the, gee, you could have bought, everybody an airplane ticket for whatever, for the support total. And again, my counter-argument is, look, it's a work in progress. I don't suggest that the system or the equipment or the service is the be-all, end-all today, but we're on a path. And 10 years from now, I would like to be riding a long-distance train, and the cost of that, to me, the option cost, how do I sustain that option? Where do you put your resources and your strategic emphasis? If you're talking about yin and yang here, it's national network versus intercity. Again, my going in view is that we sustain the national network, we try to improve it, but that we really put a lot of our energy into the intercity structure. I know not everyone agrees with that point of view. And there's always going to be a natural kind of tension between, cost and customer focus, between revenue and ridership. Look, is it national policy to grow ridership, as it may be in a transit situation where you keep fares low, or is it national policy to try to, eliminate an operating subsidy? Clearly, we've said out loud that the system never will make money, so get over it. But if you actually look at our aggregate fare box recovery, it's pretty darn good. We operate north of 70% in the total system. Even the much maligned long-distance network has a better fare box recovery number than New Jersey Transit Authority does. So, finally, again, I'll just say it's about growth. We need to be talking about growth. Clearly, we have to earn that. We have to do all the things in terms of continuous improvement. We've got to, as you well know, we're still looking for a CFO. We need clear, openly available financials. We need a very straightforward way of interacting with the states on almost a menu basis, so there's no questions about, gee, how did you allocate this cost and that cost, and why are you charging us this? All that needs to go away. So we need to have a very clear kind of structure there. So every part of this organization really simply needs to be viewed as in a sense, part of the brand. So in the end, when you see 5 years from now, when you see the name Amtrak, that should conjure up a number of things. One would be a great experience. It should be great service. It should be effective management, great front lines, and overall efficiency. So I think Amtrak 5 years from now should be a well-known and well-positioned brand. So I'll leave it at that. Again, thank you for the enthusiasm, for the support, and I know we've got many nuanced views here today, but I think in aggregate we could certainly all agree that the next 10 or 15 years needs to show some pretty dramatic growth, and I do think we're positioned